Hey, what's up guys, it's X-Rays, and really quickly I wanted to mention this is part 8 of the zombie storyline. I want to thank MW3Stream for allowing me to post this on their channel. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Remember to check out my channel for more zombie content as well as more parts to this story. So anyways, hope you guys enjoy this, and let's jump straight into the story. It's been a while since I did part 7. I know you guys have been doing non-stop questions and comments on all of my videos saying when's part 8 gonna come out, and so finally it's here for you guys. Anyways guys, if you guys missed any of the first 7 parts, I would recommend you guys go check it out. A link to that will be down in the description. All you have to do is click on it, it'll take you to the playlist. You can go watch any episode that you might have missed, or maybe you just want a refresher before you jump into this one. You can do that as well. Go ahead and go through them and then come over here. This is a very long and very confusing story. So if you guys missed any of it, you might be out of the loop and might be like, what the hell's going on? So go check them out, come back when you guys are refreshed and ready to go, and then we can start and you guys can start listening to this one. So without any further ado guys, let's jump straight into what exactly happens in Buried. Alright guys, so Buried throws a lot of information at us. Starting off straight with when you start, we learn a lot about the characters. First of all, the characters do return: Marlton, Misty, Russman, and Stuhlinger. They all return in this map, so we don't see the return of the characters from Mob of the Dead, seeing as that was more of a side story than an actual part of the main story. So one of the first things that we do learn about Buried is the fact that it actually takes place after Die Rise. It shows off in the quick cutscene that they went from town to Die Rise and then ended up in Buried. So Buried is actually the continuation. There is no kind of time loop. There is a certain time loop going on in the actual storyline, but we'll get more into that into a little bit. But the actual events take place after Die Rise, so there is no going back in time to the past or going forward. It's all pretty much consistent and linear with the storyline. So anyways, we learn a little bit more about Russman. As we all know, Russman is an older gentleman. He's a little on the crazy side, and a lot of people thought he was like homeless or a hobo or, you know, some kind of weird character. But then we learn in the beginning of the cinematic for Buried that Russman was actually an agent for a corporation known as Broken Arrow. I did some research on Broken Arrow and found out that Broken Arrow is a term that is used for an accidental nuclear fallout. So if you guys don't know what an accidental nuclear fallout is, it's kind of like if you go to like a nuclear plant and it has a meltdown and it blows up and there's radiation everywhere. And so the reason that it's referred to as Broken Arrow is because of the fact that they want the world to know that this was not intentional, this was not a nuclear strike, this was not a nuclear attack on anyone, it was simply an accidental leak of radiation or something. So it's kind of interesting that they used the company name that Russman worked for as Broken Arrow. We also learned that Russman is having a lot of issues with his memory. He does not know what's going on. He forgets what he's saying or where he's at mid-sentence, which is really strange. It looks like he might even have Alzheimer or some sort of disease that causes him to forget where he is and who he is. They actually mention and they tell him, you know, your name is Russman. He's like, is that my first name or second name? And he's not really sure who he is. It's really kind of disturbing. We also learned that the 4 characters met up in the town. As it turns out, Russman was driving the bus that we see along with Stuhlinger, Samuel, and they meet up in the town, and that's where they basically join up and kind of become this crew that they start fighting off. Another thing that we learned throughout the gameplay, you know, as you're playing Buried, there was always a theory going around that Stuhlinger was eating zombies, and it's the reason that he could communicate with Richtofen. So as you're playing Buried, you can also hear quotes of Samuel saying, you know, stuff to zombies like, you smell a whole lot better when you're heated and stuff like that, basically alluding to the fact that he did indeed eat zombies, and it's the reason that he's able to communicate with Richtofen, since the zombies are directly getting, you know, basically the power from Richtofen. Anyways guys, so there's a few other things that I want to cover about Buried before we continue on as to what exactly happens in continuation with the storyline with Dr. Maxis and Richtofen. And there's a few little bit of information that we learn about in Buried. So first of all, there is this weird ghost that's at this mansion, and although there is no official storyline for what exactly happened, it can be assumed that she was a grieving widow, and she passed away, or she died after her husband died, possibly shortly after the events of her husband dying. So what happens is, if someone dies while they have something, any kind of attachment to this world, then they end up becoming a ghost. So that's the whole, you know, theory behind ghosts and stuff. Oh, they have some kind of attachment that they have left behind, and that's the reason that they can't move on to, you know, the afterlife, or whatever you want to call it. So we have this crazy widow. She goes around and she takes the money of the players. Whenever you go into the house, she bumps into you, she takes the money, and obviously from the clothes you can see that she is a grieving widow. And on top of that, there's a couple of little, you know, Easter egg things that you can do that kind of show you the fact that she also was a piano player. Another person that we meet in Buried is the giant, or the big guy as they refer to him. There's no official name. There is also no official storyline as to how the big guy got there in the beginning, or how it happened in the first place. All we do know is that the big guy is scared of zombies, you know, unless he's drinking booze or eating candy. Then he is generally afraid, and kind of, he's the one who actually locked himself into the cell. This is kind of funny. When we first start playing the map, it feels like maybe he was locked in by someone and they ended up turning into a zombie. But in all actuality, he is so scared of the zombies that he actually locks himself into the actual jail cell so that they can't reach him. So there is no official kind of storyline as to how he got there, or if he has any kind of tie to the actual story. But it's, you know, he's an interesting character, not something that you're probably going to see in the future, but, you know, he's something that popped up, and I thought that maybe you guys might want to learn a little bit about. We do learn, though, that Buried takes place in Africa. You can see them walking through the desert, you can see them by the pyramids, and we learn that they're trying to get to the Rift. And for you guys that don't know what the Rift is, I'm going to talk about it really quickly. The Rift is the crack in the earth that happens. As we all know, Maxis released the rockets that hit the earth, and it completely shattered it apart. There's a lot of theories going around, you know, like on Moon Area 51, is it on Earth? You know, there's a lot of different theories. But the point is that the Earth was cracked into multiple pieces, and there's these rifts that kind of get to the center of the Earth, and it's, you know, everything's really broken apart. So they end up going to the Rift because the communication to finish up the 3 towers, you know, depending on if you're doing the Richtofen side of the story or Maxis side of the story, then you know that you have to come to this area to finish generating power to the last tower in order to either Richtofen to have complete control, or for Maxis to try to gain control back. Something that's really interesting about Buried, and kind of continues this tradition of kind of time warping and time travel within the zombie storyline, is the fact that you are able to use a equipment called the time bomb. As you can see it on screen right now. It's being used to go back in time, and what it allows you to do is you place it down like a C4, and it allows you to go back in time to that point. Zombies are still there, and you basically reset. You have the guns you had before, you lose any perks that you gained after you drop down the bomb, and it kind of creates this little tiny loop, or this kind of infinite loop that you can create. This is kind of like a nod towards Shangri-La and Mob of the Dead. You know, basically all of these maps kind of make this reference to the fact that, you know, time is ever changing. You're able to change the loop. You're kind of able to go back in time and try again, or, you know, try different tactics out. So it's this huge kind of thing that's going on in zombies right now, where time loops and time travel is a huge key thing. So you see it in Buried with the time bomb, you see it in Mob of the Dead, where you go to the bridge, you run out of fuel, you go back to the bridge, and then the only way to end it is to actually kill Weasel, which is by completing the Easter egg. And again, same thing with Shangri-La and even Die Rise, where, you know, you see it in the opening cutscene where they die and then Richtofen brings them back. So it looks like time travel is a huge part, and I would not be surprised if we see it again, maybe in the next game or the game after. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the zombie storyline. This is a really long story. Buried had a ton of information that needed to be covered, so I'm gonna actually be breaking this apart into 2 different episodes, Part 8 and Part 9. I hope you guys enjoyed Part 8. In the next part, we're going to cover what happens if you follow Max's side of the story, and what happens when you follow Richtofen. So there's a really interesting stuff that goes on there. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the zombie storyline. Remember, if you did enjoy, to slap a like and a favorite on here, as well as leave a comment and go check out the other episodes if you haven't seen them already. Anyways, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I am already hard at work on episode 9, so you might see this a lot sooner. Possibly in a week we'll see the next episode, episode 9, which is, I know, the one that you guys are all super excited for, because it kind of branches off the story into 2 different linear worlds. Again, you know how I mentioned that time is a huge thing. you know, time is a stream, and you're able to break off from the main timeline and kind of branch off into its own reality. And it's basically what we're going to be seeing in the next part, episode 9. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you guys next time. If you guys are new to my channel and you guys want to subscribe, you guys can. My YouTube channel is youtube.com/OGXrays. Go stop by my channel and subscribe, and I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I am X-Rays. I'm out. Peace.